feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.
Hi everyone, welcome. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. Welcome back. And if you are a previous subscriber, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Thank you back for coming back and viewing my channel. I hope you do like this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Will help with engagement and keeping the channel moving. So for today's video, we're going to be specifically focusing on January 6th committee versus Donald Trump. We're going to kind of take a look at the future and everything that's going on evolving around this January 6th committee. And then we're going to move on at the second portion of this video and kind of look at how Donald Trump is doing versus the committee and kind of see will they investigate him? Is he going to get away with it? Now, this is just for entertainment purposes only. And I will certainly say that this is just energy at this point in time. Energy does change and evolve. So this is never set in stone. So please keep that in mind. All right, so let's jump into it. Hi, Second. Hi, Jocelyn. Thank you all for coming. I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. And I hope all of you guys who are watching now, I hope you had a Merry Christmas. This is being live streamed on December 28, 2021 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here are some quick disclaimers on your screen right now. If you want to pause the video, you can stop it to read it. Up to you. This is just for entertainment purposes only and for education purposes only as well. I have no connection at all to the January 6th committee or to Donald Trump himself. All right, so let's start with Terrell. But quickly before we do begin, I do want to say one thing. For those of you guys who have voted, thank you for voting in the community poll on this YouTube channel page. If you have not voted, go to the community section on this YouTube channel page and go vote. You're going to find this poll here, and it's going to give you some time. You have 7:45 p.m., 8:30 p.m., 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on December 30th. Those are the days that you guys chose for me to host the New Year's Eve event. And also, please feel free to comment your questions in that same poll as well, so I can include them in the event as well as we move into the new year. So thank you all for participating. So let's jump into today's video. Hi, May. What's up, love? I'm glad I did have a good Christmas. I hope you did too. All right, so let's jump into it. Let's not waste some time. The first thing that we're going to look at right now, if you are new here, I will put everything in timestamps in the description below if you want to kind of view there as well. You can view them based on your mobile device, computer, or tablet. All right, so Spirits and Angels, tell me about the committee. What do we need to know about this January 6th committee? How is the investigation going? Let's just take a look at there. How is this January 6th committee going? Investigating what happened on January 6th. The investigation from the January 6th committee. Okay. What is happening here? Thank you. Oh, okay. Let's go here. All right, so we have a lot of information coming through. So we're talking about here now. If you have not watched the first part of this video, I highly recommend it. Go watch the video with I talked about Donald Trump and his press conference on January 6th. That's part 1. Before you watch part 2, this is part 2. All right, so we have here 18 to 29 millennial Gen Z young voters, right? This is interesting that the card shows up. A lot of these people born between the age of 18 to 20, who are currently right now 18 to 29, a lot of them had just experienced the first national terrorist attack on the country, right? And now we just have witnessed a second one, but it wasn't an international one. It was domestic here at home. We have Salem, the witch trials, right? This false accusation, black or white magic, execution or death penalty by a court trial, right? So we spoke in the past, before that we talked about that the January 6th committee is not openly trying to charge Donald Trump, but instead they were trying to look at what happened there. And so that's the reason why the card shows up is very interesting because right now Donald Trump is going to try to frame the January 6th as a bias court, and that they're against him and that anything they say is not true. But it's actually just false accusation. So right now, what the trials are doing right now in terms of the committee, it feels like they're having a very hard time getting a foot off the ground, especially with all this fake information and fake news being spread from the guy himself who is being persecuted at the same time. We have here on the right side here, we have the popular leader. And but on the back side of it, we have the Democrats and the Republican Party, with the results are undecided. If you may have a number, in 2020, we had the results undecided for at least 7 days, a week before you found out who was the next president. And so we have this popular leader. Biden won the popular vote, right? He is the clear victor in this election. He won by 51 to 46.8% to Donald Trump. We have here as well, the Senate was up for grabs by this point, right? The Senate was up for grabs. At this point in time, what's it called? The two Democratic senators were elected from the state of Georgia. And so what the card is really showing me here, what's happening is the timeline here. They're telling us the story. They're revisiting the story about what happened, right? We have here, there was a potential assassination attempt on the president himself. There was a plan or a plot to take out if all needs are necessary, including Mike Pence. Right, we have here I Have a Dream, Civil Rights, Black Lives Matter. It was a march. It was a march on Washington, is really what this did. If you may have a number from 1960, Martin Luther King Jr., they marched to Washington to the capital of the United States. And so the reason why this card shows up here is not only did they try to do this, they also marched on Washington, D.C., which is a very significant point here, the reason why it shows up in this reading. We have here the charismatic leader. Donald Trump is a very charismatic leader. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, he's very well liked among his base. People are enthusiastic about him. They love him. They see him as a godlike figure. We have here also, as well as we have the No German mythology from the famous man's book. And it kind of shows here that this is what they tried to do. This is what they wanted to do. This was the goal here. The goal didn't happen, but this is what they wanted to do. And it was because they lost the electoral college, right? We have here 348 to 378 electoral votes, right? We have here as well as 175 to 184 electoral votes. So the real reason why it's here is that it's kind of talking about here is that this is the first time that the committee ever had to investigate a president based on these charges, and that this will be a very historical standpoint, a very historical divination, so to speak, is the best word to use here, is that they have to be very careful how they go about this because history will write it in the name. And people will use this as a model for any president or any other office holder who ever try to do this thing again and how to approach it. So they really need to think about the historical perspective here, which is why they're not very quick to go after certain people. We also have here primary challenge, right? We have multiple people from multiple different backgrounds, from Asian to Black to white, Hispanic. We have all the different backgrounds. And so it really shows that this is not a very biased leaning court. It's a very diverse court with diverse opinions from diverse backgrounds. We also have here the Republicans win, and we have the Democratic flip. But that's the Congress. We also have a Republican win. So we talked about right now is that the idea here, the reason why they're investigating is because Donald Trump kept pushing the narrative that he won in 2020. And because of that, it led to what had occurred on January 6th because of the swing states and the way that they went in the previous election in 2020, right? We have Florida, we have Georgia, we have Virginia, we have North Carolina, and South Carolina, right? Then we also have here, as well as we have the mystery. Unsolved mystery. It's not an unsolved mystery. We already know who won, so it's not a mystery, right? But we do have the 1950s toxic family values, higher wages, Capitalism, Golden Age, the Anti-Gay Christian Agenda book. And the reason why this card is here is very significant because it talks about the time when Republicans tried to glorify the 1950s for something that it really wasn't. It wasn't the best time in American history. It was the best time for people's wallets, no doubt, because their wages rose with the economy. But as time went on, it kind of dissipated. It was revealed about a lot of the nasty things that they did to these people during this time. So it's really not something to glorify over. And then lastly, but not the least, we have illegal donation, personal favors. So I would not be surprised if some way or some form that they're investigating a lot of different things evolving around the former president and the people who were involved on January 6th. That is where the committee is going right now in terms of all the information and what they're finding out in the current data. We're going to take a quick look now at Donald Trump and kind of see where that is going. Then we're going to kind of jump back between the two in this video. And if it's kind of confusing, go to the description of this video. I have everything timestamped in the description below for you as well, or in the comment section. Or either click it and it'll take you right to that section. If you are currently enjoying this video, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to like this video if you are interested and you want to see more content related. Now, if you have not already gone to my community page, please don't forget to vote on when you want me to host my New Year's Eve event. And don't forget to leave a question in the comment section below that you would like me to have answered during that event. Okay, let's begin. So let's take a look at Donald Trump and his future. Donald Trump, please tell me. Actually, let's do that. Donald Trump, please tell me, what is your future related and involving around the January 6th committee? What is your future? Okay, thank you. Let's put this here. Oh, okay. All right, so we have 4 cards here. They're very interesting, very, very interesting. This relates to 2016 to 2020. If you have a feeling that this is going to open up a lot of different things, a lot of different avenues, they're going to end up finding things that they didn't really were looking for, but now they have to open up brand new investigations. We have here the first card here. We have the result undecided. Right, we have here popular leader, right? Donald Trump is a very popular figure within the Republican Party. We also have here results undecided. Donald Trump refused to concede the election to the next president, and not only that, he also the results for the president was very undecided for 7 days anyway. We have here the electoral college margin, where we're talking about what Donald Trump's future. Donald Trump wanted to be the next person in line, the line of succession. He wanted to make sure that he could keep that role, but he unfortunately lost the presidential election that year, right? We have 215 to 222 seats. That is the exact amount, 222 Senate, House of Representatives seats for the Democratic Party in 2020. So it does feel like in some way already it's referring to 2020, these two cards. But this card here, we have here the debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in 2016. We have here talk to voters, know the candidates, election day upset. But the reason why this card shows up here is that Donald Trump did something before 2016 and after 2016. So there is something that we don't know about that he was aware of, and maybe there's something that he did do that we're all aware of, but they have not investigated or looked too far into that might lead to a deeper understanding why January 6th occurred in the first place, right? We also have here as well, we do have another electoral college margin. Again, we have very similar numbers, but they're very quite different. We have 313 to 369 to 313 to 360. So we do have a very clear margin here that are almost exactly identical, but they're also not. And so what this tells me here is that there is a mirror image here. What's really portrayed to 2016 and 2020, as in 2016, Donald Trump won with 306, and Joe Biden won with 306. And so the exact is that this is referring to a mirror image of what is going to happen. We have October surprise. If you may have remembered, we talked about an October surprise, which is all about Hillary Clinton and the FBI scandal, and it came out in the month of October. It was a massive surprise, and it led to one of the reasons why she lost the 2016 election. We have here, that's for Verus. We have trouble ahead. So it does feel like in some way or some form, the future of Donald Trump when it comes to the committee is that this also revolves around and opens up brand new investigations into different avenues of things that he's done in the past. And so therefore, I do sense that there is going to be a lot of trouble. Now, it's not the fact that I think they could have really said that on the card, but I do feel like based on his readings already, that there was always going to be investigation that's going to be opened up. We have here the older adult voters. We have 45 to 64 boomers and Gen X. We have here the swing states, the styes, right? We have a lot of Republican colors here. We have red, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Florida, and Georgia. Republican states and Republicans have recently won a lot of these states as recent as 2004. So these are quite recent. And so the fact that the card showed up is very important and very significant. But it talked about here the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. And the fact that Nancy Pelosi is going to be in reverse here talks about the minority leader in the House of Representatives, which is right now Kevin McCarthy. This could potentially be an eyeing up for to become the next leader for the Republican Party within the House of Representatives as a way to squeeze himself back into politics, to squeeze himself back into the mainstream media to get the attention back on him. And then therefore, because of that, he will make the presidency up for grabs. And therefore, the Democrats and the Republicans are going to have to fight for the presidency. Then we also have here the Founding Fathers. This is not what the Founding Fathers had clearly intended. However, the Constitution is a loosely interpretation, and therefore they have the Statue of Liberty, which is therefore you have the liberty and the freedom to do as you wish, as long as it abides by the Constitution of the United States, which is just a document, a federal document, who governs the United States. There is no sort of legitimacy behind it. There is no one enforcing it. There's no sense that the law is even in place in some way. We have here the historical leader is reversed here. We have here the result undecided. The question here is now we keep getting undecided results here, which is very important and very significant here. And we also have here foreign policy, trade deal, treaty, declaration of war, diplomacy, alliances. Potentially, they could be referring to Donald Trump and his foreign alliances with other countries. And then we also have here the Democratic Party's hold on the White House. And here we have President Joe Biden. And so this will be very interesting to see how President Trump is going to try to make some deals with people in bad positions of power in order to maintain it. So we're going to see. Let's take a look back at the January 6th committee now and kind of see how they're doing. Okay. Hold on. My nose is like really like nosy or like running or whatever it is, like clogged. The best way to use it. Okay, hold on. Okay. All right. So Spirit Senator, please tell me about the January 6th committee. What else do we need to know about the January 6th committee? Are they going to end up finding Donald Trump guilty or anybody else who are close to him within his realm of influence guilty? Like Steve Bannon, those other people, because I don't remember their names off the top of my head at the moment. Are any of these people guilty? Will Donald Trump go to jail? What's happening here? And by the way, we do have a jail card, so if that comes up, that should be like a legitimately like a yes. Okay. Okay, what's going on here? Spirits and Angels, tell me. Is the committee going to find anybody guilty that's related to Trump or Trump himself? What will be the historical significance of this decision? Okay. Come on, I need more cards. Spirit Angel, come on. Come on, come on. Come on, give me some cards. Come on, baby, let's go. Thank you. About damn time, but it's coming. The card keeps coming up. We have two cards. Twins. We have twins here. We're talking about twins again. This card can just show up a lot. So, just FYI. This card seemed to show up a lot since I started reading on this today. So, we have here is we have the Lean Democrat card here. We're talking about now is we're asking ourselves. Okay, now I'm ready. So, now we're asking ourselves in this particular reading is we're asking, will they find Donald Trump guilty or anybody who's evolving around him, right? We have here at this point in time that we had Joe Biden coming into action, right? Hi, Lisa. I'm glad you're able to catch another live too. Oh, there you go. Don't know why it's dark. But we have the Democrats, right? Joe Biden just got elected president. He was inaugurated into the White House. This is the storyline here. So this is the next set of stories. We have spin a story, talk to voters, rally supporters, media interview. Right? And what this is kind of referring to me here is that what has happened is that there is some sense of understanding that these people in position of power who are on TV and television, and particularly looking at Rudy Giuliani, that woman who was Dr. something, Dr. Burdock or something like that, or Barbara something who was doing like COVID-19 thing. I'm seeing all those people. And I'm also seeing him. And I'm also seeing Kellyanne Conway as well as another one, Steve Bannon, Steve Jobs, no, not Steve Jobs, and a few other people. It was a really chunky guy. He kind of looked like an oval. I don't know what his name is, but I'm sure you guys know who he is. Billy, something with William in it. But we have here, this is what I'm seeing here. Now, this is what it's talking about. People trying to spin the narrative, the story, to make it appear as if it's something that it wasn't. I try to deceive the eyes and try to almost brainwash you is what the word is. That's the word I should be using here. We have here World War, right? We almost got into World War in 2020. We almost thought we were going into the Third World War. Luckily, it did not happen. Knock on wood. But we do have here a flip side, Civil War, right? Which is quite interesting because no country has ever lived so long without two or more civil wars, right? America has just had its first one in 1860. America is certainly due for another one. So we do have here the Civil War card here, right? The division within the United States. The country is more divided since 1960, and even more so divided than almost mashing the same level of divisionness or divisiveness since 1860. We have here is whether or not we're acting here is that whether or not Donald Trump or people around him will be investigated or will be charged with a crime for what they have done. We have here is we have the winner unknown. And it feels like almost as if the results are undecided, that the tarot cards cannot give me a definitive yes or no. So as of right now, it feels like no, Donald Trump, as of right now, and his people who were a part of it are going to get away with it at this moment in time. Now we're asking what is the historical significance of this decision right here, which is right now we don't know what the decision is as it's undecided, right? That's the energy at the moment. Which what makes a lot of sense because it's an unbiased court. We've been saying earlier in the video and the previous video that this is an unbiased court. Therefore, they cannot make the decision if they don't have all the information. So we have here pro-capitalism, right? We have here Robert Barron, Walt Gap, Rockefeller, and Carnegie. Monopoly card here. That falls underneath the Democratic Party card. We have here the media interview, right? Trying to spin the narrative of what happened on January 6th, but this is probably the card now that it shows up so often as it's talking about January 6th, that this falls underneath the media interview, trying to spin the story so that people remember it in a different way than it really occurred. We have here the Civil War, we have Monopoly. Again, we have the Monopoly card here. But the difference between the Monopoly card is we have third party and we have the election. Underneath this winner unknown card, we have here gun rights, which is reversed, and American Revolution. Right? We're talking about 1812 and 1776, which is actually ironic because 1776 was what they wore on the shirts of January 6th. So a lot of people who were wearing them were wearing 1776, marking the next revolution within the United States. And so wouldn't that be surprising that this is what's occurring? So really what this is leading to and the path that we're going down with this information is understanding that they have to really make it a choice here, right? The historical choice. Right now we have the Democratic Party. They're saying that the Democrats are being paid off by the people within the wealthy corporate donors. Partly that is true, but it also applies to the Republican Party as well. So that's not really a shocker or a brain, like something that's really like revealing. But we do have here, we do have the Electoral College margin, right? Donald Trump, right here, right? We have here the the Democrats won the White House, right, the presidency, but Donald Trump won with only 232 electoral votes, right within the margin of this era right here. So they won. And not only that, the Republicans only won between 212 Senate representative seats, which is listed here as well. So this is also interesting because it refers and talks about the 2020 election. So we had that here. So we know that this is about the election, right? And underneath the Civil War card is we have the third party, right? The idea, the sensuality that to divide the party into two or the party into four. And therefore, in order to maintain dominance, the best way to maintain dominance over a country is to divide it among four different political ideologies and make sure that you always have about like 30% of the vote where everybody else gets 20 or less. Therefore, you always dominate in any election, any popular vote, anything like that. You will severely dominate, which is why they're trying to do this. We also have here gun rights, which is why we're actually funny enough, the Supreme Court is at this moment in time actually reviewing a case on gun rights itself. And we talked about Amy Coney Barrett, I believe, in the previous video, part one. We talked about Amy Coney Barrett and why she was very significant for Donald Trump, and that she might be the decider for whether or not he is considered guilty or not. And we also have here as well American Revolution. The long-term effect of this and everything that's occurring is that it potentially started an outbreak of war, or there could be some sort of potential terrorist attack again on the United States. But let's take a look and kind of see where that is heading. Let's just see the long-term future of this committee. What's the historical perspective? How would the world look on it 20 or 30 years from now? So let's take a trip into 30 years. Right, so it'll be 2050 by this point. So Spirits and Angel, tell me, what is the historical perspective and the viewership on what had occurred today within the January 6th committee and its final decision that it's going to make in this reality? How would history look upon it? And what will be the long-term effect of that? Let's take a look. Okay, so we have here LGBT rights again. We have retail industry, religion card, October surprise, reality. Okay, let's take a look. We're talking about the long-term historical perspective, and then we'll end off on a good note, hopefully. Okay, and the bottom of the deck here is we have. Okay, so at the reverse side of that is another. So that's the flip side of it. Is that this decision will lead to another one of those. Another one of this, basically. All right, so let's take a look. So we have here, we have the religion card, right? Now we're asking what the historical perspective is. We have the religion card. We have religion, regional and time dominance, right? Corralling freedom. So really, what is happening here is that potentially there could mean two very different things. It could mean that this limits the power within the presidency of the United States, and therefore the government no longer has as much power as it once did. Or it could mean another thing, that this is the goal for them to make it appear the Republicans are going to try to make this decision appear as if they were trying to limit or weaken the freedom of many Americans. Almost like targeting turning American people against the decision, the final decision of this committee. We have here as well, we have minimum wage, food supply, poor working condition, retail industry. This is interesting because what is happening here, we're talking about 2050s now, right? What is happening is that there's going to be some sort of food supply shortage or poor working condition, which is what I'm seeing here. And that's what the cards are saying. But the reason why this two things I'm focusing on heavily here is that it feels like in some way or some form that it's almost like it's been man-made. It was like a man-made issue. Like they created the condition to be ripe for something new to come in. It almost feels like they were puppeting in some way, saying if I put this here, if I do this, we'll get this. So that people will always remain wanting more, but even though they can never get it. they were more likely to corral their freedom for basic necessities, basically, is what they did, right? In order for Hitler to maintain power, he must make it possible for people to maintain happy that he's actually doing something, make it look like on the media that he's doing something, but behind the scene, he's making those poor working conditions very bad, and also shortening the food supply so that they were always relying on the government, and therefore the government is considered their god. We have the October surprise, which is reversed. We have clear trouble ahead. So it does feel like in some way, some form, that this is a signal, the decision that they make will lead to trouble ahead, that there is some sort of division. Now, this is just energetically at the moment that can change based on the decision that they make at the final decision, once we'll do a reading on once they make that decision. We do have here electoral college margin. Again, by this point in 2050, candidates will start winning by 410 to 515 electoral votes, right? So it does feel like a lot more people are going to be outvoting, particularly not only for a two-party system. By this point, by 250, we'll have a third-party system, which basically means that there will be three major parties within the United States that are going to dominate. We have 35, 46, 19. And then we have here the one candidate in particular will win a lot of votes. And so it'll be a very more time when more people are either coming out to vote, voting for what they want in politics, but also it does feel like in some way or some form there could also be as well that there's voting limitation put on people. And therefore, due to this limitation that it does occur here that excuse me, with the limitation that there could be wide and numbers are so high because there are less people voting, therefore it makes it easier to win in the landslide. Especially if there's, say, rich people voting only, chances are rich people and the candidate is going to win in the landslide because it dominates in rich people than poor. Okay, so moving on. So we have the Salem with trial. We have false accusation. Again, this card comes up a lot, right? So this could be the committee card versus the military coup card, which is resemblant of January 6th. So we have here, we have some death penalty accusation. There will be, again, like I said, by this point in some time, that because of the narrative that Donald Trump is pushing or the Republican Party is pushing, that it almost feels like in some way that they're going to devalue and dehumanize in some way the committee's work and efforts into investigating what had occurred, and therefore nobody's going to believe that the results are accurate. And therefore, it's going to feel like in some way or some form, it's going to be like one of those conspiracy theories that people always have a conspiracy about, because they're always going to make it in their head to rationalize what actually happened because they couldn't understand what was actually occurring. Underneath this retail industry, we have here the swing state decides. We have Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, New Hampshire, the swing state decides. And on the card here as well, we have private versus public school. We have high school diplomas, high tuition education. It does feel like in some way or some form that by this point, schools will be teaching about this very moment, but in some way, it's going to be manipulated by some schools and a teaching method, and the story is not going to align. Was it going to add fuel to the conspiracy theories that's going to exist? And the challenge here to this committee and the future that troubled leaders. So basically, what it's saying here that if they let Donald Trump with a slap on the wrist, we're almost due for another leader worse than Donald Trump, which I have mentioned before. Now, if they prosecute him, this could all change as well. We have here as well, we have very high Republican enthusiasm. We have here that falls underneath trouble ahead. It does feel like potentially this can mean that Republicans are going to dominate an election after election because of what happened now and the decision that they make now. And lastly, we do have here propaganda. We talked about propaganda again, manipulating mass information, miscommunication. We have here change culture and mindset, brainwashing. So it does feel like in some way, some form, by 1950, with the current path and the current trajectory that we are currently on now, we're due for another attack, and also does not look very bright at all. It does feel like in some way that they're going to give them a slap on the wrist, and because of that, we're going to pay the price in the future. So that is the end of today's reading. Not the type of reading that I would have liked to have ended on, but I am very nasally. and I cannot breathe right now, so I'm going to end the video. But I love you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Comment in the description below what you do think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.